Here are your notes for a subject-verb agreement. So go ahead and find a blank notes page in your grammar packets and get ready to take notes. For each of the following subjects and verbs, determine whether they are singular or plural. For subjects, it's a pretty simple task. Are you looking for one thing or multiple things? That would determine if it's singular or plural, respectively. For the verbs, you have to determine if the subject that precedes the verb is singular or plural. That'll determine if the verb is singular or plural. So for the first one, glows, are we talking about one thing that glows or multiple things that glows? Here are the answers for the singular or plural subjects and verbs. Subjects were probably pretty easy for you to determine if it was one thing or more than one thing. For the verbs, the thing I like to do to make this a little bit easier is to just use singular or plural pronouns in front of the word to determine if it works or not. So you could say he or she glows. That would make sense. If you say we glows, well, that doesn't make sense. We is plural, so glows can't be plural. It's got to be singular. Taste, however, if we use the pronoun we taste, that works fine. We is plural, so taste has to be plural too. And that's how you can go about determining if a verb is singular or plural. The notes for subject-verb agreement essentially consist of 6 steps that you should follow when determining if a subject or verb is singular or plural. So the first step starts out with singular subjects agree with singular verbs and plural subjects agree with plural verbs. Pretty simple, very similar to what we just did earlier. So a singular verb ends with an S. So like the verb run, he or she, those are singular pronouns, runs. We add an S there to show it's singular. A plural verb ends without an S. A few examples are at the bottom of the page here. Does the refrigerator operate or operates? Do these needs or need? Do several actors accepts or accept? What does Mr. Nelson do? You'll need to use a singular verb there because it's one person. What do the mice do? You'll need to use a plural verb in that case because the mice are plural. Before moving on, I must add that this first step is a general rule of thumb that is not always 100% accurate. There are plenty of irregular verbs in English that do not follow this rule. The next step is to cross out prepositional phrases. So the number of a subject is not changed by the phrase following the subject. We have a few examples to look at here. The launch of space shuttles attracts or attract the interest of people throughout the world. Remember, when choosing attracts or attract, of space shuttles is a prepositional phrase, so cannot be considered. So is it the launch attracts or the launch attract the interest of people? For part B, people in this country observes or observe Friendship Day at the beginning of August. In this country is a prepositional phrase, so is it people observes or people observe Friendship Day? The next rule is that compound subjects joined by and are usually plural. So the examples here include March and April is or are windy months, and English and science requires or require hours of study. If the subject is compound and consists of more than one thing, you need to use the plural verb. Step 4 says that if compound subjects are joined by or nor, then the verb agrees with the subject closest to the verb. So for the examples, we have heavy rain clouds or a powerful wind shows or show that a hurricane is fast approaching. So we have a compound subject, heavy rain clouds, joined by or a powerful wind, and we have to go with the subject closest to the verb. So that would be a powerful wind. Does a powerful wind shows or show? For part B, neither the seal nor the clowns catches or catch the ball that the monkey throws into the circus ring. So we have nor here, and it's joining two subjects together. So clowns is the second subject. So do the clowns catches or do the clowns catch? That's what we have to determine for that example. Step 5 is that here and there are never subjects. The subject would then follow the verb. So for the examples here, we have there is or are free samples on Friday afternoons. So are free samples singular or plural? For the example B, here is or are a copy of the assignment. So is a copy singular or plural? Step 6 is that collective or group nouns such as class, family, team, committee, etc. can either be singular or plural. So there are singular collective nouns, that's one group. So you might have one army, one audience, one cabinet, one company, one swarm, or one troop. You could also have plural collective nouns. So these would be more than one group or multiple groups. So you could have armies, audiences, cabinets, companies, swarms, and troops. So the examples here are the band create or creates a beautiful sound. Our English department decide or decides on the holiday party every year. The last step when determining subject-verb agreement is to learn to recognize indefinite pronouns. So there are indefinite pronouns that are always singular. Those pronouns include each, either or neither, and one. Also, any combination of the terms beneath that can also be singular indefinite pronouns as well, such as anything, anybody, or anyone, everything, everybody, or everyone, nothing, nobody, or no one, or something, somebody, or someone. All those pronouns are singular indefinite pronouns as well. Next, there are also plural indefinite pronouns. Unlike the singular indefinite pronouns, these ones always refer to more than one thing, and therefore we must use plural verbs with these plural pronouns. These include both, few, many, and several. Lastly, there are some indefinite pronouns that can either be singular or plural depending on how they're used in the sentence. Those pronouns may include some, any, most, none, all, and more. Again, these indefinite pronouns can be either singular or plural. They will usually be accompanied by a prepositional phrase that will determine if the indefinite pronoun is singular or plural. We have a couple examples here. Most of them are handy. So again, most is an indefinite pronoun that could be either singular or plural. But when we look in the prepositional phrase next to it, of them refers to more than one person, so we need to use the verb that is plural, which is are in this case. For the next example, more of the medicine is needed. We use the singular verb is here because the prepositional phrase of the medicine is just a singular noun. So in that case, we need to use the singular verb is, and we look inside of that prepositional phrase to determine if the indefinite pronoun more is singular or plural. We have a few examples here to wrap this up. So few leaves or leave the cave without any problems. Well, if we look at our list up top, few is a plural indefinite pronoun, so you have to choose the plural verb in this case. So few leave the cave without any problems. Something seems or seem fishy around here. Again, look at the list, determine if it's singular or plural, and choose the respective verb. And finally, neither of the choices is or are correct. Same strategy. Look at the list, find out if it's singular or plural, and then choose the correct verb.